Hi, friends. It's Hillary Walsh, your immigration lawyer friend. And today let's talk about what is immigration law? How's it formed? And when was the last time that it changed? These are all some of the really common topics or questions that people have when they're going not only through the immigration process, but really just trying to understand what is this confusing area of law. And I want to share that even when I was in law school, I remember applying for a moot court competition, which is just basically where we pretend to be lawyers and argue about a real world problem, but in a fake context, kind of like a play about real legal problems. And I wanted to go to New York City because I'm a Kansas girl. And I wanted to go to New York City, and I picked NYU because that sounded so fancy, and it was an immigration law moot court competition. And I had to Google, what is immigration law? I wish then that this type of video had popped up. And so if you're Googling it and trying to figure it out, maybe this will help you as well, because I have learned firsthand exactly what immigration law is after being an immigration lawyer for over 10 years. So in this short video, in this short podcast, if you're listening on Immigration Law Made Easy, I hope I make it easy. I hope I make it entertaining. And I hope you understand kind of not only why the law is set up the way that it is, but why it's so complicated and confusing, and why it changes so much more than any other area of the law. Let's get right to it. So immigration law is a federal body of law. What does that mean? It means that states don't make immigration law, because immigration law impacts the whole country, not just each individual state. So states aren't allowed to make specific immigration laws, but instead, and if they do, they can cut off some of their funding. We're seeing a little bit of this with Florida right now, creating laws where it's a crime. You can make a certain behavior or an act a crime in your state. You can't actually change the immigration law itself, how to get a green card, how to petition for your family member. All of these are things that only Congress can do. A state Congress cannot do it. So Florida can't create a law that says spouses in Florida can petition for, other people, and that creates a conflict between what the rest of the country is doing, because immigration law is a federal. So the whole United States follows almost all the same rules, unless they start invoking things that are very state specific. Here's an example of this. Some time ago, gay marriage was not legal in the United States. But first it became legal like in California, and then Colorado, and then New York, and these various states started saying that being married to someone of the same sex was legal. Well, for immigration law purposes, it was still where same-sex spouses, even if they had gotten married legally, let's say they were a California gay couple, they still couldn't file petition paperwork for immigration purposes because of immigration being a federal law. And gay marriage was not federally legal until we went through the Supreme Court process, which found that gay marriage was legal. And then we went from there. And now immigration law has been updated to allow for same-sex couples to be able to petition for each other for immigration purposes. That's an example of state law kind of being ahead of federal law. Similarly, we see it where the states are finding that marijuana is not illegal. So we have it here in Arizona, again, Colorado, California. We've got a lot of different states here in the US that say on a state level, it's totally okay to have marijuana for personal or whatever kind of use you want. I'm not a marijuana user, so I don't really know all the ins and outs. So this is not legal advice about marijuana if you're listening to this. But what I will say is that federally, marijuana is still considered a controlled substance, and it's still a federal crime to have it. So if you are someone who's subject to federal laws, like my husband who's in the Air Force, or an immigrant who is subject to federal controlled substance laws, it would still be a federal crime for you to have this specific substance, even though the state says that it's allowed. So this is kind of the difference between state law and federal law. Your federal laws have to be passed by Congress and the Senate, and then the president signs it into law. in order for it to actually become law, where a state law, all of that's going to happen at the state level and the governor is going to sign it into law.